My name is Mike, and welcome to... So I'm gonna go ahead and explain the death of Jeffrey Epstein and get into the facts of it and then talk about my understanding afterwards, alright? So let's talk about what happened. So Jeffrey Epstein died in federal jail waiting for his trial, his sex trafficking trial, on August 10th. That's when he died. That's when he was found dead. But the story doesn't start here. It starts a little bit earlier. Again, I'm not going to get into his sex trafficking stuff, but I am going to talk about on July 23rd, 2019, a couple weeks before he died, he was found unconscious at 1:30 a.m. in the morning in his cell. His cellmate had no recollection, no knowledge of the event, but Jeffrey Epstein was found again unconscious with marks around his neck, and from that point on, he was put on suicide watch. Until 6 days later, on the 29th, when he was taken off suicide watch. For whatever reason, he was also moved into special housing with a different cellmate. And then the jail went to the Department of Justice and said, hey, we're going to go ahead and have him be checked on every 30 minutes and again have a cellmate in his cell with him. So about 11 days later, on August 9th, one day before Jeffrey Epstein's death, his roommate was taken out of his cell and assigned somewhere else, and no one came to replace him as his cellmate. That night, the guards stopped checking up on him, and they fell asleep for about 3 hours, is what they say. At the same time, the two cameras that were looking at his cell were malfunctioned again during this time. Then on August 10th at 6:30 a.m., they found him dead in his cell. U.S. Attorney General Anthony Barr spoke on the event on that day, and he said, "It looks like an attempted suicide, but we're not sure yet." So August 11th, one day later, he had an autopsy done on his body. And what that showed was it seems like he jumped off of the top bunk with something around his neck and broke multiple bones in his neck that caused him to die, including the hyoid bone. But that bone is usually found in strangulation homicides and not hangings. Only about 6% of hangings have that bone being broken. 5 days later, on August 16th, the New York City medical examiner pronounced his death as a suicide. Now, a few months later, on November 19th, it was shown that he was actually not checked up on for 8 hours. Now, skipping about a year and a half, going to May 25th, 2021, the two guards that fell asleep were found to be, incompetent at their jobs, and they agreed to 100 hours of community service to get out of their stuff. So the two guards just had to put 100 hours. Like, if we think about this, right, if you just had to do it like 5 days a week, right, 2 hours a day, how long would that really take you? Not too long, but a guy died on your watch. So kind of like a slap on the wrist. So on June 27th, 2023, the U.S. Department of Justice, again, this was just a month ago, went ahead and criticized in a report against the two guards and against the prison for misconduct, inappropriateness, and they also concluded that it was still a suicide. They still concluded that it was a suicide. Now, that is the most up-to-date stuff we have for this issue. So my personal take on it is I just don't know how all of these coincide at the same time. You took the man off of suicide watch after 6 days, but you put him into this special housing where you promised the Department of Justice, hey, we're going to make sure we put someone on him every 30 minutes. We're going to just check up, just make sure that he's all right. You had cameras there that were looking in on him, and you had a cellmate there just, as an extra precaution. So how did all those things talk about? Like, why did you remove a person? Why did the guards just choose that day that the camera malfunctioned and you moved the, cellmate out? Like, why did they fall asleep that day or just not pay attention? It just seems a little weird. And that bone could have broken due to a hanging, but it's just super strange that it's very low percentage that it actually happens in hangings, and that it's more common with strangulation. Like if someone were to come into the prison or the jail and go into the jail cell and strangle him and tie him up and put him all into the position that he was in, and then left before, the guards came and checked out, because he had an 8-hour window to do that in with no cameras. I just don't know how we don't have more evidence for any of it. But Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of powerful and a lot of rich friends that he had a lot of dirt on, right? And this seems to me like a message was sent that says, hey, snitches get stitches, and you're about to snitch on us, and we're going to make sure you can't. So that's what I put it up to, is that it could be a murder. We have no evidence of it, but it just seems that he was about to go to trial, about to probably put some information out there that a lot of rich and powerful people didn't want. It just seems like those coincidences add up to like more than just a coincidence. How did all those things happen? And we're just like, yeah, it was suicide. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know about what you're thinking down in the comment section below. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And, stay safe.